Started? Sure. I wanted to get a little bit more from you about the zone that you guys have been using a little bit more here, and obviously that was a big part of turning that game the other night. But at what point, like as you're planning out the season, did you think like, hey, we might need to throw some zone in from time to time?
Yeah, well, we felt like it's something we needed to start working on really towards the end of the summer and give it time to get better because we weren't going to spend a ton of time on it early on. We wanted to solidify our man-to-man defense, which is our primary defense. Going into this past game, you know, we felt like Rutgers was a team that really wanted us to get to the free throw line. So we felt like that was a way to help keep us out of foul trouble. Now, obviously, the hard part with that is you're not locked up on guys for rebounding, but we didn't rebound as well as we needed to in man in the first half. So we felt like once we were able to call timeout, get set, gave our zone there a chance to end the first half. It was good for us. So we played it more in the second half, more than we anticipated. We felt like we were going to use it, but played it more than we anticipated we were going to, you know, kind of throughout the game. It's just what the game called for.
And I know it's not necessarily like, hey, let's throw this out there, we're going to get 10 stops in a row. Like, it changes the flow of the game, changes what they're looking for. But when you do throw a zone out there for whether it's a couple possessions or however long, like what sort of things are you hoping to accomplish in those situations where you feel like that's warranted?
Yeah, take teams out of rhythm. I think, you know, be able to guard and be aggressive without fouling is important. And, you know, we pressed back into it a lot, especially after we were able to get some dead ball situations. And then it puts teams in a shorter shot clock there in the half court. So, you know, felt like we needed to take them out of their rhythm because we didn't do a good enough job with that man-to-man. And, you know, the zone accomplished that, and then that allowed us to stay in it and change back and forth. You know, we mixed in man and zone in the second half, and I thought they really struggled to get any kind of consistency in the second half.
Nebraska has won 18 games in a row dating to last season. Just, I don't know if you've watched all 18 of those, but in your mind, what is it about them that allows them to, you know, play at that level, come through with the win, et cetera? Just, it just feels like they've got some type of momentum here that very few teams have been able to crack with them.
Yeah, well, first off, Fred's done a great job with this year's team. And, you know, I think they're really good. Last year's team, you know, that game we played here, high-level game, was a huge game for both of us. And I think it's a big reason why, you know, our league needed to change the postseason conference tournament rules is because a team like Nebraska, who, you know, by all accounts was on the bubble, didn't get a chance to win some games in the conference tournament to potentially get in. So I'm glad, you know, that changed so that all those teams in our league who have that chance this year, you know, can do that. Then they go and had great success in the Crown and carried that on to this year. This year they got different guys, but, you know, the guy who's been with them for a long time, the two guys really been with them for a long time, and Mast and Hoiberg are two really important players for him. And you add Sanford, who knows the league, and listen, they can really shoot the ball. You know, really shoot the ball. They have 5 guys on the floor that could shoot most every minute of the game. Best thing they do right now, though, is guard. You know, they're doing a great job protecting the paint. They're, you know, 2-point field goal percentage. All those metrics show, you know, really how elite they've been defensively. So when you combine that with their ability to, I think, flip a game or gain momentum in a game with their 3-point shooting, that's why they're, you know, they're playing so well.
I'm sure you got some ideas of how to defend Mast, but is Tilly with his size a good option there? What, without giving away all of your game plan, just how do you go about defending a guy who's so good in every aspect, I guess?
Well, I think the great thing we have is we have size and athleticism. You know, we have guys who are mobile and big because you got to have size on him because he could score inside, but you got to be mobile because he gets his shot off quick and he can drive from the perimeter. He's really a conductor for their offense. So, yeah, we have to give him different looks. Certainly that includes having different guys guard him. But, you know, I think our combination of size and athleticism is beneficial for us, and we can help scheme around that.
What's the chatter been like with your guys about, you know, being the ones to break their undefeated streak? Obviously, they're coming off a huge win over Michigan State.
Yeah, you know, we were on the bus getting ready to head to the airport watching the end of that game, and I think our guys, you know, when they saw they won, it was excited about how big of an opportunity it is for us. So, you know, it's an early season Big Ten game, but it's one at home, and that's really important, and it's one against a team that's established themselves. We'll see what they're ranked, but it should be top 10, you know, at this point of the season. So, you have a top 10 team coming into your building. That's a huge opportunity, and our guys know that, and we'll be ready for it.
How are you guys a different team than even a month ago? You got a glimpse of Big Ten play against Northwestern and Illinois, and then you have that little non-conference break. How are you guys maybe improved since a month ago?
Well, I think you get seasoned. We've had a lot of close games in there, and that helps prepare you for what's to come. I also think we've had to make some adjustments on the fly. We haven't shot the ball as well as we're capable of. So our guys deserve a lot of credit. They've adjusted within games to be efficient offensively. I think our offensive efficiency has been good. Even really, us not shooting at the level we're capable of from three. So we've had to make some tweaks and adjustments. We played some more zone, which was something we felt like going into our, we'll call it a holiday break, felt like something we could do coming out of it, and so far it's been good for us. So I think mixing up defenses can help us, and I think when you're going through the season, especially in Big Ten play, you can't stay the same. You got to get better certainly, but you may have to adjust what better looks like throughout the course of conference play, and I like where we're at right now.
John, 12 assists, no turnovers the last 3 games. How have you seen him just make better decisions, do better playmaking with the ball here over this recent stretch?
Yeah, well, one, I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but he's not just a shooter.
Yes.
And I've said that. I've been consistent with that, and I think sometimes I needed to remind him of that. And he had played sped up a little bit offensively there for stretches of this season. When he's played more, we'll call it poised, and been more in control of his defender versus the other way around, it allows his playmaking to be such a factor for us. So I got high level belief in him as a playmaker, and I think as he continues to play with that poise, what we've seen is it's opened up opportunities for him from three, right, and allowed him to shoot the ball like he's capable of. I want him to stay aggressive from three. I want him to stay aggressive offensively in general. Outside of maybe one shot, he and I had a little discussion about in the Rutgers game, and it's usually those discussions are, hey John, you're a better player than that. Like, you don't have to settle, and so he's been that way. He deserves all the credit. He's worked. He's coming extra. He's in here in the mornings working, and he's playing better because of it.
And then it's been a part of the culture since you became head coach, even maybe before that. But you guys have come back from 2 15-point deficits already this season. What have you seen in terms of this team's resiliency, in terms of just making those types of comeback efforts?
Yeah, well, there's a no quit, fight to the end mentality on this team, and I think our veterans help lead that. They've played a lot of basketball, and as long as you fight, right, you got a chance, and so our guys have done that. Now, what we got to do a better job of is not being in that situation, and we had some breakdowns defensively that we specifically practiced not to do against Rutgers, and we got to address that. That's on us. If we handle our business in those situations, I don't think that deficit gets to that level. But there's another team playing, right? So, I think, hey, we got to control what we can control as well as we possibly can, and then keep fighting for our own momentum in the game. We were able to get momentum at the end of the first half, carry that over to the second half, and Rutgers, like every Big Ten team does, they responded, took the lead back, and we responded. They responded, and then we just, we stuck with what we needed to do to win the game, and that's ultimately what it's about. We want to keep playing more high-level basketball. We have more. We're capable of more in that regard. And listen, we're going to need that, tomorrow night against one of the best teams in the country. So I think this team's never going to not fight. If they do, that'll be a major disappointment and uncharacteristic of who we are. So I don't think anybody should be surprised with how we fight all the way to the end.
Then one more for me. Tyson, where's he at in his progression? Maybe working to earn some more minutes off the bench. Tyson.
Yeah. I'm going to speak kind of broadly, I think, about our bench. We're searching a little bit there. There's no denying that. And we're trying to find, we need somebody to emerge and step up. I think Brandon has done that. He's done a good job with that. It's been an adjustment for him, but I think he's settled in. And, even the previous couple games before Rutgers, he was being more aggressive. That's what we're missing right now. Is we need our guys who are checking in the game to be more aggressive, and Tayson's included in that. You know, he's passed up some shots that we wanted to take, and it's the same thing with Gabe, and the same thing with Colin. Like, those guys got to be more aggressive. And when we create looks for them from three, they need to shoot it. They need to look to attack the paint and either create for themselves or someone else. So the big theme for us and our guys coming off the bench is be aggressive. And the guys who do that will, I think, earn more, and we need them to.
You brought up Noel, just the 2 Big Ten games you won, he's come up really big, obviously. What can you do, you know, at whatever moment you have to send him in there? It was because of the 2 fouls, maybe in this last game or the first time out or whatever your normal progression is. Just what can you do to send him in there and continue to push the issue? I mean, that seems like a positive for him.
Yeah, well, his aggressive mentality lately has been big. He certainly had it against Northwestern, and preferably we prefer Tilly not get in foul trouble and him still do that, right? So that'd be a bonus. But I think he's in a space where he's ready to do that. He's practiced well. He's practiced hard. I think he's talking more. And all those are signs of a guy who's going to improve in his consistency. So we got high level belief in him. We need him, right? I mean, there's no question about that. And he was huge for us against Rutgers. He was really big, and we're going to need him to step up again tomorrow night.
Josh Ojianwuna, I don't know, how do we pronounce that?
We should probably cut that part, man. Ojianwuna.
Ojianwuna, okay. Josh, are you reaching a point of no return on him to where it wouldn't make sense to play just a few games this season, or what? Has a decision finally been made there? Or?
Yeah, I think we're close to that point, right? We're close to a point where it's kind of yes or no, unless some of this litigation settles to where there's this extra year, and we know that. So we're getting really close to kind of having to make a decision on, depending upon certainly, right, the impact of that. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
When you've talked to Brandon about like having that role and coming off the bench and that aggression, how much of that is about rebounding as well? Because that's something he's done at a high level throughout his career, and that even when he's been prolific offensively, we haven't really seen some of the rebounding that I think maybe with his size we kind of thought we would. Like, what has that conversation been like, trying to bring that and get that from him on the glass?
Yeah, I mean it's that exact conversation, right? Hey, you are a good rebounder. You've been a good rebounder throughout your career, and we need you to be a good rebounder now. So. You know, I think a lot of it is in our system, it's different the way he played, because sometimes he's being asked to run in from the perimeter to rebound offensively versus when he's, you know, maybe stuck in the paint for most of a possession. He did rebound. He had good offensive rebounding against Rutgers. On the defensive side, he's going against bigger, more athletic guys than he's ever gone against in his career. So I think it's natural to expect an adjustment period for that, but we're at a point now where he's done it enough this year where I think, you know, our expectations are high for him as a rebounder, and he's got to step up for us in that way, and I think he will. I think his intentionality on that side of the ball, you know, in regards to rebounding, has been much better. And listen, you know, as much as we practiced rebounding leading into the Rutgers game, I was disappointed in how it translated. There's no question about that. And when you went back and looked at the film, there was we were hitting each other harder all week than we were hitting Rutgers when the shot went up. That obviously has to change. As something we can control. So he can help us with that because of his physicality and strength. So, you know, I think we've been a pretty good rebounding team this year. You know, we're never satisfied because we know how important it is. We didn't do it well enough against Rutgers. It's going to be important Monday and you know, throughout the rest of the season.
And then the week that you guys had leading into that game, the time that you had, how much did you spend working on the zone during that week?
Not a lot. You know, a little bit. Not more than we had been tracking. You know, we felt like we needed to fine-tune it and get some reps because we wanted to use it some against Rutgers. But we didn't, you know, spend a full day just on zone or anything like that. We just added maybe an extra segment than we had been doing. And really worked more on our press. We've been trying to utilize that more. Trying to show some full court pressure at different levels, of aggression more, to again create some either extra possessions or shorten teams' opportunity to run long sets in a half court. So we spent more time on that, and I thought that was a good thing for us.
That's it.
Thanks, Coach.
All right.
All right, guys.
You did get